Hello, this is Kent Sovereign, State Director of AARP Iowa, and with me today are John Hale and Terry Hale, who are advisors for a new project that we're initiating here out of AARP Iowa. Not a new issue for us, but certainly a new project as it relates to caregiving and the relationship of employees and employers within the caregiving space and with the employment space. So, Terry, John, tell us a little bit about what you have in mind here.
Well, a growing issue for employers are the number of their employees who are also unpaid family caregivers. I think right now 1 in 6 employees are unpaid family caregivers. And so as a caregiver, I've been a caregiver for my dad for a decade, when you add the role of caring for a loved one on top of being a full-time employee and you a mother, wife, friend, volunteer, etc., it definitely adds a lot of extra stress. But caregiving is also such an emotional role, and so it can be very distracting from your ability to focus at work. And so trying to help employers understand family caregivers that work for them, and then also ways that employers can support them, because in this time when there are more jobs than people, it really can differentiate an employer if they can provide caregiving-friendly policies to their workers.
And you know, in the macro sense, we have 317,000 or so family caregivers in Iowa, and these are unpaid folks, as you say, sandwiched between their responsibilities as a parent, as well as a child.
I call it the club sandwich because of all the layers you said. And we're an example of that at a time when I was caring for, we both have cared for aging parents. We had adult children who were married. We had a student at home. We had grandchildren. And so we have all these layers of family relationships and roles that we were playing. And so it's really more than in the middle of two things. It's kind of in the middle of a whole bunch of things.
By and large, a lot of these folks are women too, aren't they, John?
They certainly are. I think the figure is maybe 60-65% of caregivers are women. The average caregiver is a 49-year-old female.
So you're going to go out around Iowa and begin conversations, if you will, conversations around caregiving with employers, with employment groups. Tell us a little bit about what you have planned for that.
Well, I think what we want to do, Kent, is we want to be supportive of employers. We want to help them better understand the challenges of their caregivers. We want them to better be able to support those caregivers. I think a lot of employers have a kind of a sense that there's something going on with some of their employees, but they don't necessarily have that pinned down. So we want to be advisors to employers to better help them understand, to equip them with tips and tools that will allow them to better support their employees. We know, and we've talked to enough employers around the state of Iowa to know, whether it's a small employer or a huge employer, they all are dealing with significant workforce challenges. In order to grow and to succeed, they've got to be able to attract and retain top talent. And that is a huge challenge for them at this point. So whatever they can do to better inform, assist, and support that employee population, it's going to be in their interest to do so.
It seems to me that before an employee comes in and suddenly tells their manager, their supervisor, oh gee, I've got to leave because I've got this caregiving responsibility, we want to start that conversation with the HR, with the managers, with the C-level folks in businesses small and large.
Yes, it's really important to have a culture in the organization where employees know that they're leaders and that the upper echelon understands caregiving and the challenges of caregiving. And that really is something that doesn't cost anything to an employer.
So a few specifics. Where are we going to be in the short term and the longer term? How do we want to get out there and let people know these conversations are going on?
We're going to be working primarily in 3 communities in Iowa to begin with, Fort Dodge, Cedar Rapids, Des Moines. We're going to be working directly with employers. We want employers to know that there are things that they can do that are fairly simple, that are no cost or low cost. There are things that employers can do that have a little bit of cost to them, and there are some things that employers can do that are pretty pricey if they want to have a really serious investment in this. So there's something in this for everybody. We want them to leave that conversation with tips with tools, with resources that they can immediately start to use.
And what's great is that, as you know, Kent, AARP has established a number of free resources and electronic aids that employers can offer to employees, and resources for employers that they can access that cost them nothing but will be greatly helpful.
So we want to begin the community conversations. We want to elevate the issues. No silver bullets here, but lots of resources, especially available through aarp.org/caregiving. The I Heart Caregivers webpage and other web pages that we have on our aarp.org website have access to those free materials for families, for employers, and for the individuals who are caregivers. The old saw, you've been a caregiver, you're going to be a caregiver, or you're going to need caregiving. And we want our folks to thrive, whether they're in the workforce, out of the workforce, whatever their circumstances. We're all about thriving in place, and that's what we want to do. Anything else you want to add?
This is really the new normal here, what we're starting to see. This is not going to change. This is not going to go away. So we have to better prepare for it.
As 4 generations are in the workforce, our employers and their employees have a whole number of challenges. And I thank you for taking this up. I think these conversations will only be the beginning of conversations as the demographic shift moves, as we baby boomers continue to move. I think these issues around caregiving, employer-employee relations will only be elevated. I thank you for your work, Terry and John.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Kent.
Thank you for tuning in. Again, this is Kent Sovereign, State Director of AARP Iowa, with Terry Hale and John Hale. Best wishes, and please, thrive in place. Be all you can be. AARP is all about real possibilities.